Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here for a very special Tuesday edition. Our friend EJ Cameron away right now, and in his stead, Chuck Carroll. Chuck, welcome to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hey, man, it's so good to be here, man. It's good to wash the stink of the day off with you.
Yeah. Well, for those that don't know, which is none of you, Chuck and I were just swapping shower stories before the show, and not like that came out wrong. We were just talking about, like, do you shower in the morning? Do you shower at night? I had a great shower story about being very tired in Jacksonville, and I took a shower that really refreshed me. Just swapping shower stories, Chuck.
Yeah, well, I think that people are probably tuned in for wrestling news as opposed to shower stories and visuals. So I would just like to encourage everybody to let that visual marinate for you, Nick, in the shower after the media scrums at Double or Nothing. And on with the show.
I'm feeling scrummy. I'm washing my pits to get the scrum off. You know, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, we have, by the way, I want to thank the ladies of that listen to the daily. Got it going here before we'd even started in the chat room. We had Julie Harrison. Hope there's no changes to Hell in a Cell. Charlotte's got to get her Raw Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell. We got some commentary about Eva. We're going to pull more of your comments here if you're watching us live onto the show as we go along. But I was so happy to see that. We got female representation right up top. That's the kind of viewership I'm very proud of here at the Wrestling Inc. Daily. So we have the live stream going right now. Jump in the chat room wherever you're at. If you're listening to us in audio form, after we talk the news of the day, you're going to hear my conversation with David Pinzer. And if you're watching us in video form live in a little less than an hour, top of the hour, we're going to be premiering that conversation I had with David over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. And because it's a premiere, we all watch it live together in real time before it goes to the archives. So you can jump in the chat room. You can talk with other fans, with me, about this conversation I had with David. And he's got his Sitting Ringside podcast coming back, and he was at every Nitro. He's literally at every Nitro and Thunder ever, Chuck, you know? So,
that's a heck of a streak right there. That is a heck of a streak.
And and he was honest too. You know, he's like, well, you know, it sounds like fear was a big motivator. If he wasn't there, they'd replace him with somebody cheaper. I love that.
Welcome to the entertainment business, my friend. That is every facet of every entertainment business in the history of entertainment businesses.
Yeah. Also, after we hear from David later on, we're going to dive in the mailbag. We're going to look at what is rumored to be an upcoming WWE draft, but we'll start here with news you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. We have Monday Night Raw, some highlights coming out of that show last night. We'll start with the big change made to Hell in a Cell. It's now going to be Lashley and McIntyre inside of the cell after they had a contract signing on Raw last night. And it was also announced that the match is going to take place not only in the cell, but per a stipulation that the challenger, Drew McIntyre, agreed to. He will no longer be able to challenge for the WWE title as long as Lashley is champion if he loses. What do you think about this stipulation here, Chuck?
Well, the first thing it made me think of is Cody no longer being able to challenge for the AEW title. I mean, that is the very first thought that came into my mind. And then the other thing is, well, the outcome of this match really doesn't matter all that much in the long run then for Drew McIntyre, because it only applies to when Lashley is the champion. So win or lose, he's going to stay in the title picture for a long time to come.
It seems a little weird to end Lashley's title run like the show before you get back to live fans. Doesn't it? Right? Yeah. It feel a little odd to me.
Yeah. Do you think that if you're Lashley and they take the title off of you right now, like that's a big slap across the face? Like, no, you're not the guy that's going to put butts in those seats. We want McIntyre, who we know can draw. We want a proven commodity in there. But Lashley's a guy, Nick, that's been around forever and a day at this point. He deserves his time at the top. At least see how many people he can bring in.
Hey, I'll be honest. The Lashley experiment, they've gone way further with than I even thought they would. The fact that he won and retained at WrestleMania, when I was like, well, they're going to have a bunch of fans there. This is the moment to give, McIntyre the win. He didn't get in front of fans. I thought it was going to happen then. It didn't happen then. They let the man win at WrestleMania. So I can't sit here and say they haven't, I think, done well by Lashley. I think they've taken this thing a lot further than maybe even they expected. It would just be a bummer, I would think, to have this nice reign that he's had end at a moment, just before everything really kind of keeps going again. So
do you think that they keep this going till SummerSlam and then do the flip at their first big pay-per-view back in front of fans? I know that they've got Money in the Bank in front of fans, but SummerSlam is the next big one, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what you can't. You're gonna have Drew beat Lashley, and then Lashley takes it back. I mean, if McIntyre loses here, he should get another title shot. It should be Kofi Kingston, who, by the way, is not on my run sheet here, but MVP's promo on Kofi Kingston about the death of Kofi Mania and how he needed to get his wits back about him, I thought was the best part of Raw. It was very real. It was relatable. It was something I feel like a lot of fans were saying, on their keyboards. I thought it was just a very good, organic, nice piece of business they did. Right there.
Well, that makes me wonder then if it will be Kofi and Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam, because you see MVP kind of getting involved there last night, trying to what I interpreted as recruiting Kofi, obviously. And so that kind of makes me think, well, all right, then Drew will not be winning on Sunday, and then we'll see Kofi and Bobby Lashley down the line, see how long that one takes to play out.
Yeah, and it's also not on my run sheet, as I'm just kind of getting distracted with my thoughts. I finished up Raw before we went live here, man. And dude, what was up with that finish? Like, what was up at the end of the show with Shayna Baszler doing like some awful B-movie stuff? Like, it was shades of the bleeding from the face with the Ultimate Warrior. It was just really objectively just not great, not good.
No, it's god awful, but I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do, and I will tell you why.
All right.
Simply because WWE has stayed with the storyline. It's something that has continuously carried over from week to week to week. And so even though it's a storyline that generally I would have no interest in, the fact that they have carried it over week to week to week, I'm finding myself slightly invested in this, and I just got to give them an attaboy for just sticking with something for a change, man.
I mean, look, seeing something through, I'll give you that. That is really nice. I think that just the execution on it for me, I hate when I hate when I feel like wrestlers look like just dopes, or like very non-threatening or dumb. And I just thought the way that Shayna kind of was portrayed here, I didn't think felt very I go back to the MVP Kofi stuff, which I thought was very natural and organic, and I was invested in that, and that also is following up on a lot of stuff that's coming from history. This just to me felt very, very forced and very, very weird. I don't really know. I mean, I'm kind of where are they going with Lily, but I'm also very kind of burned out because of what happened with the Fiend, where there was so much of waiting for things to happen that still have not really manifested. Doesn't really feel like they know where they're just doing more. I don't know what it's leading to.
I don't know either, but it's happening every week. And at least, you've got Death, Taxes, and now Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss. And so at least we have something to count on. That's all I'm saying. Not the greatest storyline in the world. I do wonder, though, would you feel a little bit differently if this were in October, say around Halloween, and then you've got this creepy doll thing happening that would make more sense as opposed to randomly throughout the spring and now into summer?
I don't know, probably not. I don't know. It's kind of a year-round thing now with the horror stuff in WWE. I will say this. This feels like a match that would probably be better served in a Hell in a Cell structure. I mean, I guess Lashley McIntyre, end of the, this is the last match and an end of a feud, is supposed to be what this thing is supposed to be. But Alexa Bliss and Shayna in the Hell in a Cell, where you could do a bunch of, gimmicks and things like that. I mean, it feels more in their lane, I guess, right now than McIntyre Lashley is all I'm saying.
And what are you hearing, though, speaking of Alexa Bliss, as far as where she is health-wise? Because we haven't seen her in a competitive match for some time now. So, is this finally building to a legit match for her back in the ring against Shayna Baszler? Or is Shayna Baszler then going to be the one going into the ring and doing the physicality? Are they going to be in cahoots with each other?
Well, here we go. Robert Humphrey here. We'll go with Rob from the chat. I'm mostly looking forward to Shayna Baszler versus Lily, right? So, Lily. Does Lily stay a doll, right? Or does Lily manifest and become an entity, that Alexa can manage? It's Fiend-esque. It's like a lady Fiend kind of deal, a similar kind of relationship, because we don't really know what's going on with Bray or where he's at or when he'll be coming back. But, could Lily become a thing, right? Could she come to life? And that becomes the conduit.
Yeah. See, now I don't want to see that week to week. Now you've lost me, man. That's just too much. My bigger question would be, would the doll do the job? And, and kind of leave it at that.
Oh, the doll would come in and dominate Shayna Baszler. Lily over strong. let's go. Let's keep moving here. All right. The other thing coming out of Raw last night, the Eva-lution, right? We now know, due to a vignette that Eva Marie put out, that she's going to make her official return next Monday night on Raw. It's going to be the go-home episode for Hell in a Cell. WrestleVotes reporting there's been talk of pairing her with somebody on the Raw brand, having some kind of muscle by her side. This new report notes that two names being considered are Mercedes Martinez and Piper Niven. The Matman podcast, I guess, jumping in as well, saying they've heard Piper Niven is going to be the person that Eva is paired with on Raw. What are your are you excited about Eva Marie? What do you think about this report of maybe her having some female muscle?
I mean, so I don't know just yet. I think that there's potential here, and I don't want to sound like a WWE apologist, but I do believe that there is potential here if done right. My confidence level, however, given their track record of late, is very, very low that this will work out in her favor. And if she's not going to be a wrestler in the ring, then I'm not really sure how long she can hang on as an efficient manager. I mean, I give this... I think that there's a better than 50-50 chance that this is one of those we'll give up on it within 3 weeks type of deals. That's kind of the way that I'm seeing this right now.
Wow. I think they're going to roll with this for a while here. What surprises me, though, I mean, there's a lot of weirdness about this, right? It looks like she may be coming back as a wrestler because they've had some wrestling stuff in there, but also kind of a manager figure. You don't really see a whole lot of vignettes for manager figures over this period of time because it takes the spotlight off of whoever would be the person she was, valeting or managing, right?
Right.
So whoever comes in is like muscle, I'm guessing they would be kind of like I don't want to say Sean Diesel because I feel like that's a bit of a stretch, but like some kind of dynamic, maybe Raquel Kai Dakota or Dakota Kai, something like that, a comparison. But some kind of dynamic like that where maybe this muscle's working and I don't know, man. I just thought they were going to bring her into Parker. I'll be honest. Like, that's where I thought this was all going. And maybe it still is, but, maybe not.
I don't, but think back to like what they did with Carmella when they were doing the big rebrand with her, I guess, what was that, like 6 months ago? And they did vignette week after week after week with her teasing until her eventual return. And that thing just fizzled out so quickly. I'm worried, though, no matter what direction they take Eva's character, that it's going to wind up like that. I mean, that is my top concern for her. And, like I said, convince me otherwise. Right now, I'm really seeing, like I said, a better than 50-50 chance this is 3 weeks and we're done before the 4th of July.
Well, first of all, Polio Del Mar, Paul agrees with you. So DOA, emphatically, supported you there. But Dino Garofalo, do you anger the fans right away and have Eva win Money in the Bank? I mean, it would at least give her something to do. But again, I want to see what she's doing. I mean, as Samantha says here, is this just going to be a repeat storyline of like an AJ Lee and Tamina or the other ones, the examples we mentioned before? I just got to see what it looks. I got to see what the packaging looks like here. I don't know exactly what I'm getting with the Eva-lution at the moment.
Yeah. Do we know if this is a heel character or a baby face? Is she like genuinely this heroine that she's portraying herself to be in the vignettes? Or is she just some pompous jerk who's coming in and she'll play that heel role? What do you think?
I think she's going to be a heel regardless. And I think that kind of dovetails nicely into this next bit here. Jackson Riker, he debuted a brand new look on Raw against Elias. He's cleaner cut. He cut his beard down and he sought revenge on Elias, who turned on him. So after interrupting Elias's concert, Riker grabbed the guitar, tossed it up the ramp. After dominating Elias most of the match, Riker won by countout as the Drifter retreated up the ramp. Elias refused to explain his actions backstage, and it appears now as if Riker is a babyface, which led to a lot of backlash on Twitter, with a lot of fans, of course, bringing up the pro-Donald Trump comments he had from last June, while there were, troops attacking peaceful protesters at Black Lives Matter Plaza. Also, when he denounced the Black Lives Matter movement. Not great way to make friends these days. So Jackson Riker now being positioned as a babyface, but kind of like with Eva, like if they're positioning her as a babyface, I don't think you're going to get that reaction. And I don't think Riker will get, I guess it's maybe the market, but I don't think Riker's going to get the reaction if they're trying to push him as a babyface.
Well, I don't think he's going to get the reaction regardless. I don't think that his character is quite there yet. I don't think that he spent enough time in front of the camera for the WWE audience to become invested in him no matter what. As far as his conversations on social media last year. I mean, here's the thing, man, right? So you got to remember that as vocal as the opposition was last night on social media, there is just as many, if not more, on the other side who would support his comments, to which he would, in fact, be a babyface. And if WWE's return is going to be in Texas, kind of in the red-leaning states, then I think that he's got more of a chance of being over with the audience. And look, it looks like he was kind of embracing that role. You look at his ring gear; he's got the American flag on his trunks. You know, it's not something that he ever really shied away from. And so, even though I personally detest what it was that he said, I do believe that there is a huge segment of the population, and by default, the WWE audience, that will wrap their arms around him.
But I've read a lot of I've read a lot of reports, right? Or not a lot. I should say a handful of reports that show that pro wrestling's audience skews more liberal than a lot of traditional sports audiences, right? Like the same people watching pro wrestling are not the same people watching football. Football has a much more conservative audience than pro wrestling audience. Like pro wrestling tends to attract the sports fans that love a little theater, you know? So like, you know, I do see where you're coming from, but I think the realisticness of this bubble right now that Vince is in, maybe to his own dismay, I don't think that it is a broader look at society as a whole in America. I do think that you get a little bit more liberal slant when it comes to the pro wrestling crowd more often than not. And that's why I say, I mean, maybe in a market or two, but you ain't going to roll this guy. And look, Raw's coming to Chicago. You ain't rolling Jackson Riker out here and he's going to get a big pop. I tell you that much. Okay. So, I mean, that's just kind of my take on the who watches wrestling politically kind of thing. Cause I have read a handful of things about how the demo skew for pro wrestling. It is more liberal than other sports.
I saw the same thing that you're talking about, but to the best of my knowledge, that was one look at demographics right there. So that was one piece of research. And so I would like to see a wider a wider net being cast there. I don't know who it was that they were polled. I don't know what markets they looked at. I don't know if they were asking AEW fans, who I assume would skew more liberal than WWE fans. That's just an assumption. I don't know who they asked.
One would think, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll see. Jackson Riker again, but again, how are him, Eva Marie? Like, does Roman Reigns get cheered? Like, there's so many characters right now because they've been able to kind of control their narrative without having to deal with those pesky fans letting their voices be heard. Maybe Vince enjoyed this period of time. Maybe too much, right? He got to flip his finger at everybody, do his own thing, book the guys how he wanted to do, tell his stories. There was no outside influence. He made billions of dollars in the process. Maybe Vince liked the COVID era. I'm not really sure. but like on the other side of it, very interested to see where the audiences are going to go with this. So anyway, let's see here. We have some write-ins here. Faces don't. This is about Eva. Faces don't typically need muscle for them, so Eva is a heel. Dina Garofalo said that. I think that's a very fair observation, right? If the reports are true.
For sure.
And then, Samantha agreeing here. People love to hate Eva. Unless they load in the cheers, I would think once they hit live crowds. Yeah, I don't know that you can stop it, So we'll see. By the way, Prahi, are you wearing makeup? Chuck,
I am, because my full-time job right after this, I have to do a lot more on-camera work. So yeah, you're getting the full kit and caboodle here.
Okay, cool. I feel dressed down, honestly, now. So
who's got the eagle eye? That was pretty impressive.
Prahi here in the comment section wanted to know. They said they love your eyeshadow.
Well, I'm not wearing eyeshadow. This is a little bit of concealer and powder, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. A little makeup talk. All right. Lastly here, Raw superstar Grand Metalik currently injured, according to WWE. This week's Raw saw Lindsay represent Lucha House Party in the tag team battle royal that saw the Viking Raiders earn a future title shot against AJ and Omos. Dorado worked the match by himself after WWE announced that Metalik was injured. I liked this as a way to open Raw. It's a good visual, all these guys in the ring. It's not the same opening kind of promo stuff that you get every week. So I actually didn't mind this as the opener here. Little surprised Viking Raiders picked up the victory here,
I was stunned. They were one of the groups that I thought for sure was going to be among the first to be eliminated. So I'm real curious to see where they go with this. To be perfectly honest with you, I have no flipping idea what they do with this. I don't see them getting the titles, but they shocked me once. So maybe they shock us again. Who knows?
I think this is like right because we have the one show where there's no fans, and then the fans will be back, and you got to do something to get through the show. And I want to think you're going to try to keep all of your champions as strong as possible, right? The Lashley McIntyre one, they're putting a little stip on here to give it a little bit more intrigue. But Viking Raiders, like you say, out of nowhere, like it does nothing to AJ and Omos to beat these two guys. Maybe you can heat them up here for just a second, but the end result here, I have to think is come SummerSlam or Money in the Bank. RK Bro, the only other tag team that's really even pushed right now on Raw, is probably going to be the one to dethrone AJ and Omos here in a little bit.
That would be my thought for sure. I will also say, if you think back to the backstage segment that they had with the Viking Raiders and AJ and Omos afterward, that really did the Viking Raiders no favors. I mean, it's not on those guys themselves. It's whoever is writing this. I mean, come on. It's like, we live our life this way to honor the Viking heritage. Like, give me a better line than that, for God's sake. Like, don't have me feuding over turkey legs. Like, that is asinine, for God's sakes. Like, build them up, man. Embrace the character. Make them a little bit more badass.
Yeah. And the AJ Styles promo, like I say, I liked starting with the action, but there was the AJ Styles promo on everybody in the ring that did start the show. That was very stilted. Like, the chains have to come off these guys with the promos. You know, that Roman Reigns has, it seems like, some more influence over the way he gets to talk over on SmackDown. And I think that's a big reason about why he clicks, right? Because you believe that guy. Even like the MVP, Kofi stuff. I could have felt like I was watching two guys backstage having a real conversation. That's why I liked that segment. The other stuff is just very forced, very weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Something's got to change, man. Something's got to change.
And also here on that note, before we jump off of Raw, Samantha QT, why do I feel they're going to split New Day, Kofi Mania 2.0? That was the only other thing lingering in the back of my head here is like, how long has New Day been together now? 8 years, 9 years?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
yeah. Like, you already saw them take Big E out of the equation. I think that it would be a natural progression to see Woods and Kofi feud here for a little bit. Maybe there's that rekindling down the line at SummerSlam. Like, I don't know, but I think that she might be onto something there.
Man, yeah. At the moment, if these three guys do wind up going their own ways, and Kofi starts wearing the suit and hanging with Bobby Lashley, which is actually, I'm not against it. It would be really something here. Yeah. Rumble, these three guys are in the ring together and they decide to work together, or what at that moment when you see them finally, kind of like when the Shield would tease every so often after they'd all kind of gone off their separate ways. Always such cool moments,
Yeah.
So, all right. Sports Illustrated talked to the Miz. Justin Brasso. Heard of him? Know that guy?
Oh, yeah. I know Justin.
Justin Brasso. Love you, Justin. So the Miz, he said the initial reports about his injury were wrong, but he did confirm he's going to be out of action for a little bit of time while staying on Raw. I like the wheelchair with the Johnny Dripstick. I'm a fan.
It fits the character, doesn't it? It fits the character.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, all right, end of thought. We don't need to talk about this anymore. He'll be back. All right, Pro Wrestling Torch. They're our new source, I guess, for viewership info, because Showbuzz Daily, spoiler alert, shut down yesterday. Did you see this?
I knew that it was coming. I saw that they had posted something on Twitter a while ago. Like, we've been doing this for years and haven't been paid for it. So, I mean, they put in a lot of work for no income. So I can't blame them.
Man, if all the dirt sheets just gave them like, $500 a month, right? Just to keep the wheels of production moving. Could we band together to save Showbuzz Daily? Maybe.
The better idea would be to band together, pool your money, and actually buy a Nielsen subscription. If you're willing to foot $500 a month and you get all the sites together, I think that's plenty to cover it.
Wait, can you get a Nielsen subscription? How does that work?
I think you would call them up and say, hey, I want access to your data. And you could claim to be a member of the media. So all of the entertainment trades have access to it. So why wouldn't you qualify?
I'm going to call them today. I'm going to call them today. We're going to be the new Showbuzz Daily. Why not? If it's that easy.
Oh, I think it's expensive. That's why I wasn't joking about pooling your money. Because remember, what I learned when working in TV is that it costs out the wazoo to get these numbers. But the only way you can sell advertisements is based off of what these numbers say. So it's kind of a necessary evil. So just be prepared to foot a heck of a bill if you do it.
How much do you think they cost? Like $10,000 a year?
I would say probably closer to $10,000 a month.
$10,000 a month?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
It's quite expensive.
What a racket. Wow.
Yeah.
For a system of like convoluted boxes thrown all over the country, like, wayward souls. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Now, there may be a discount for members of the media who will use these numbers a little bit differently. But it's still not going to come cheap, man.
Man. Well, we'll see if I can charm them. We'll find out.
There you go. Throw on the Hausman charm.
All right. Well, with that said, I guess Pro Wrestling Torch, maybe they have a friend with the subscription or something, because they're the ones that are now dropping all of these numbers. So Pro Wrestling Torch saying Friday's live SmackDown featuring Rey Mysterio and Dominic retaining over the Usos, the main event, did an average of 1.883. They did a 0.5 in the 18 to 49 demo. This is even with the 0.5 demo that they did last week, even with the week before that was the post Backlash episode. SmackDown drew the second lowest viewership since the show moved to Fox, behind the July 3rd, 2020 episode, which was a holiday weekend. Friday's show was also down 2.33% from last week, while the key demo rating was even. And also on that note, while we're talking Friday night viewership, the post Double or Nothing edition of Dynamite, featuring Mark Henry's advertised Dynamite debut, plus Dustin Rhodes defeating Nick Camarado in a bull rope match, drew 462,000 viewers, down 12.17% from last Friday night's Dynamite episode that did 526. The show drew a 0.19 in the 18 to 49. That is the lowest rating in that demo in the history of Dynamite. The previous week did a 0.2 key demo rating, so it was down 5%. Friday's Dynamite drew the lowest audience in the history of the show, down 12.17% from last week. So second lowest for SmackDown over on Fox since they made the move. Lowest ever for AEW Dynamite over on TNT. Does any of this matter since it was a holiday weekend and everybody's out and about doing things for the first time in 18 months? What do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't say that it matters so much, but it does go to a year-long trend that just shows that Friday nights are not the best nights for TV. The only shows that typically do well in terms of drawing large swaths of viewers are those ones that tend to skew a little bit older. So that's your CBS block that's got your Hawaii Five-0, it's got your Magnum PI, your Blue Bloods, all of that. That's going to skew, 45 and up. But then when you're trying to get that younger demographic, man, young kids aren't watching TV, let alone on Friday nights anyway. So yeah, you're going to take a pounding, dude. And if I'm AEW, especially that 10 o'clock time slot, you've got this show coming in the fall. I'm like, how in the world are we going to get those numbers up? But what are the expectations? Because I think that the Turner folks, they have to know that it's not going to draw 1 million viewers. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, they'll be moving to TBS, right, and next year, and there's not going to be any interruptions. I mean, at least from what I'm hearing, it sounds like very limited, if any, I think is exactly what I was told. So possibly no moving around to that. So they'll be able to stay on Wednesday night and stay consistent, which really is so important, man. Like, the reason Monday Night Raw gets to be terrible is because it's been on Monday night at 8 Eastern every Monday night for like 20 years. And it is now part of your psyche, and it is part of your schedule, and you hate watch it, and then you hate talk about it, and then you move on with your life because it is ingrained in your skull. AEW needs to find that consistency. This has been I didn't think it was going to be that bad when they were getting moved around a little bit because the crowd has been so loyal, but it's running a little thin now, not being on Wednesday nights. And I do feel like there is like a genuine little bit of loss of interest and momentum in this moment right now for AEW.
Oh yeah. So not only is it not on the same night, it's on a different night at a different time, 2 hours later, man. That's going to kill your East Coast viewership as well. And it's just not that great. What I would keep an eye on yesterday, I don't know if you caught this, NBC put out a press release touting all of the Olympic coverage that they have coming. And one of the graphs in there said that they were going to air more coverage on USA than any other network. Okay, so that kind of makes me wonder, are they going to bump Raw for a week? I don't see that happening, especially as they're returning to live crowds. But then if Olympic viewership is really good, is Raw going to get a bump because of that? So that's something to keep an eye on come July. Yeah,
for sure. Well, also, while we're talking about AEW, we'll pivot into the AEW block here. We had to issue a correction this morning from an early report that we said that said Andrade's deal with AEW included some kind of compromise on creative control when he joined the company. So it has been noted to us that AEW, that no one in AEW has creative control of their contracts. Tony Khan has total creative control. And so we have fixed that article. We put a retraction up this morning. I just want to put that out there, I guess. So there you go. Andrade, no creative control. That's what we've been told explicitly.
It happens, man. Yeah, I was proud of Raj for putting up that correction and owning it. It wasn't we, it was I. I was like, own that, Raj. Good for you, man.
Yeah, I always say the colloquial we. Raj always puts an I on it. That's fine. That's fine. I appreciate that as well. But yeah, it happens. And a lot of these stories are group sourced too for everybody else. It's not like we're all working independently in our little cubicles, which don't exist. So AEW announced today or yesterday that Cody Rhodes is going to make an announcement during Friday's AEW Dynamite special, which airs at 10 p.m. So they're back on Friday nights. Rhodes defeated Anthony Ogogo at the recent Double or Nothing. He and his wife sat down, are set to welcome their first child together, a baby girl, sometime later this month. So we just talked about how difficult it is to bring fans to Friday nights. Does Cody Rhodes making ambiguous special announcement entice you, Chuck?
No, because every week it seems to be something special about AEW. And I think that when you build it up week after week after week to have that surprise special, it's not all that special anymore. So unless you're a big Cody fan, that's not going to bring you in. Like, I got to see what he says. That's something that you can wait and watch on DVR or just catch what it was on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, and Polio Del Mar, Cody Rhodes always making some kind of special personal announcement. When I saw this, the first thing I thought is that he's going to come out. He's going to talk about how hard he's been fighting. He's been struggling to keep his wife happy at home and keep the company running. And he just wanted to let everybody know he's going to be going away for a little bit, but he's going to be back real soon. And when he does, he's going to be trying to take back the TNT title. And don't quote me word for word, but let's just see if that is roughly what this special is. Maybe I'm way wrong.
I think that's very plausible. I think that is very, very plausible. Would not surprise me in the least.
So we'll see. Just rampant speculation. Why the hell not? All right. A few years ago, by the way, while we're talking about Cody Rhodes, he told a story of the worst match of his career. He recalled a match from the June 14th, 2011 episode of SmackDown where he teamed up with Ted DiBiase Jr. and Wade Barrett to face Daniel Bryan, Ezekiel Jackson, and Sin Cara. According to Rhodes, Jackson was supposed to get a hot tag and be the hero in the match. However, DiBiase didn't kick out after eating a drop kick from Bryan barely 4 minutes into the match. So WrestleZone caught up with Ted DiBiase Jr., who claims that Cody Rhodes fabricated this story and that he did kick out and it was the referee's mistake to count 3. He says, look, I'm just going to say this. That dude will say something and beat a dead horse with it. I may have said he tried to F me, but I don't know where he got he tried to F on me. Sorry, I'm trying not to curse in front of the kids, but look, the dude knows how to blow something up. I think it's hilarious, and it's probably a shot at me, but he'd do it all the time. He'd make something up that somebody said and scream it nonstop in the locker room, and then everybody would adopt it. So I was pissed because I did kick out. You could go back and watch it, but we had a meeting that day where they told us the referees are going to count you out if you don't kick out. I did kick out, and I don't remember whatever the referee's name was, but anyway, I was hot about it. I was pissed. I said a lot of curse words when I came through there, but Cody can tell a story. He could fabricate 1, 2. So Ted DiBiase Jr., I'm a little surprised here to see the divisions in the Priceless faction. Yeah,
I mean, look, man, mistakes happen in the ring. Somebody screwed up. At the end of the day, nobody's going to want to take responsibility for it. And as far as F me or F on me, isn't that kind of splitting hairs? Like, what is the big friggin' difference between 2 letters added to that sentence, right? On. What big difference does that make? F on me, F me. I don't know. Explain that one to me.
F on me, F on you. That's a great. I actually was very confused by the F on me. I had to think. I'm still not completely sure what was said there, but anyway.
Right. It's like the word on somehow changes the entire narrative. Like, no, it doesn't. Somebody didn't kick out. End of story. You can say on, you can say off. You don't have to say anything. But at the end of the day, somebody effed up. Somebody got effed on them.
All right. Now, Chuck, this last news item here, before we get to the interview with Dave Pinzer, if you're in audio form, or we're, again, about a half hour away from premiering that over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. So if you're watching live, jump over, watch me and David Pinzer after this over on Wrestling YouTube channel. We'll keep the chat going over there. But this next item here, Chuck, was by far the most trafficked item of the day on Wrestling Inc. for the past 24 hours. We have talked a lot of news here today. This particular item was double whatever the next thing was in line. Huge news. All right. So AEW star Jon Moxley and his wife, Renee Paquette, they were at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas Sunday to attend Game 4 of the Vegas Golden Knights versus Colorado Avalanche NHL playoff series. The pro wrestling couple was spotted with Chance, the official mascot of the Golden Knights. Chance's official Twitter account shared a photo and wrote the following caption: confirmed, Renee Paquette is all ... knighted up. And then they tagged CM Punk and did hashtag too sweet, spelled SUITE, which is quite clever. Now, Punk, who was tagged in the tweet, responded with, "You're a good salamander, Chance." I guess Punk kind of has a thing with all the NHL mascots. I think it's just part of what he does now. So several fans took Chance's original tweet as a play on words and that he was trying to hint that Paquette is officially all elite and not just all knighted up. Now, I want to caution everyone real quick to not look too deeply into the tweets of Chance, a mascot for the NHL. I don't think Chance was trying to break any news there. I'll say that. But why, Chuck? Why do you think this is the thing? Is it because it's Punk and Moxley? Is there just a surge of hockey fans? Like, why do you think this item did so well?
Because it's Punk and it's fun to talk about, and everybody loves to speculate about Punk, whether it's him coming back to the ring or Punk saying somebody else is coming back to wrestling. You know, it's just CM Punk, and then you throw Moxley on top of that. You got two huge names in the business that are very highly respected, have a ton of fans. Of course, it's going to get people talking, and you know, people just love to speculate at the end of the day. Plus, let's not take out of the account that you have Renee, who is 9 months pregnant and very well could have gone into labor at the hockey game. So people are going to want to say, well, what the hell is she doing at the hockey game anyway? And how big is she? So you got all of that coming together. Plus, I believe with the headline, you put photo in front of it as well. So that's going to get people to click. So I think that kind of made the perfect storm for interest, man. That's just my guess.
All right, let's dive to the mailbag. Welcome to the end of the show, everybody. Last segment. Take your tie down, pour a cocktail. It's before noon here in Chicago. We're going to talk some more news here in just a second, but I want to thank Chuck for jumping in here today, talking the news of the day at the top of the show with me. And thank you to David Pinzer for taking some time to check in with me. Go check out his show, Sitting Ringside with David Pinzer. It returns this Thursday, adfreeshows.com, which is great. Go support Conrad and that whole circus. All right. In the mailbag here today, we're going to talk about today's latest poll question at WInc Daily, WINC Daily. That is the Twitter account to follow if you want to vote in our daily polls. Let your voice be heard. Make a comment. Today's poll question: which Raw superstar would you most like to see drafted to SmackDown? This stems from a report that came from the Mattman podcast that the draft is returning this fall. Currently, tentatively planned to be held night 1, August 30th on Raw, and night 2, Friday, September 3rd during SmackDown. The choices I gave everybody today: Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss, Elias, or some other write-in. Over 200 votes. Randy Orton leading the way, 35.5%, 28.4% to Alexa Bliss, 19.9%. They have something else. We'll get to some write-ins. And only 16.1% say Elias. They're going to leave Elias on Raw. Feud with Jackson Riker. They don't want to see the guy get a fresh coat of paint over on SmackDown. I was a little surprised by that. All right. Chuck, you know, if there was somebody you wanted to move from Raw to SmackDown, I guess who would you do? Who would you move?
I think Alexa makes the most sense out of that list. I don't want to move Randy Orton just yet because I want the RK Bro storyline to play out. Now, we don't know if that report about the draft is accurate, nor do we know when that draft is coming up. But I want to see that RK Bro storyline play out for a little while. So keep them put where they are on Monday nights. After this thing with Shayna dies down, yeah, kick Alexa over to Fox on Friday nights and see what happens. I don't have a problem with that.
And by the way, in back-to-back comments here in the Mecca thread, Samantha Cutie, I would like to see Damian Priest get drafted, as did Dina Garofalo, also said Damian Priest. And you know what? I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I'm cool with that. You know, the guy's kind of outgrown Raw, in my opinion. I think he's ready for the next stage.
Do you worry that post WrestleMania now he's kind of fallen by the wayside more so? Because I don't recall seeing him at all that much.
No, but that's the thing, is like, that's why I say, like, he got a big pop presence. He's taking a little time away. You forget about him, comes back in an impactful way. I'd love to see it pop up on SmackDown. You know, there's a lot of great people he could work with over there. And I think SmackDown just has a more marquee feel to it. It's probably because Roman's there. And I think Damian Priest, after getting the rub off of Bad Bunny and, I thought had a very good debut, I think that he would just probably fit and shine a little brighter over on SmackDown.
Here. I like it. I like it a lot.
So we'll read some comments here from Twitter, and then I'll jump back to the Mecca thread. You guys can leave a couple more write-ins, and then we'll wrap up the show here today. Six Rings 9880. He writes, Mace, he should be the leader of the new Retribution, and it should be Alexis Doll, so Lily, Reginald Tamina, Ninja Guy, Old Spice Guy, Byron Saxton, Slapjack, and then a zombie. Points for creativity.
No. I got nothing for there. I mean, no. I mean, but the sad thing is, I'm hearing that, and I'm like, yeah, WWE, I could see them going that route, doing something as wacky as that. But no, God, please, no.
Mason T-Bar, man. DOA. Just done.
Yes, done.
Done. At NHL fan 12345, does it really matter anymore? The only thing I want to see at this point, with all the recent releases, even more so, is for all of the women on one show, all the men on the other, and NXT can stay the same. That's a little radical, even by my standards. I'm all for if they want to do a women's show. I think an hour on Peacock or whatever would be great. But all the men, divide them.
Is it time to end, like the brand splits? Like, should we just go back to this one pool of talent that can show up on Mondays and Fridays again? Because it's not doing anybody any favors right now, I don't think.
I think the rosters are actually pretty good. I think Raw is a little lacking in singles top stars because they rolled Randy and AJ into tag teams to get over other people that I'm guessing, once they collide, they can spin off, and then you have 4 stars instead of 2, right? Because you gave Riddle and Omos the rub. I think that it's good. I think it's going to be way different when we get the fans back. I think that this thing is on coast, right? I think the first show, that July 16th show at SmackDown, fans back. I think there's going to be so much energy that week. They're live at home on your couch. If they can't get it back, if they can't get back energy in that week, then yeah. But if they come out there and they do some really banger shows on Monday and Friday, and they start to deliver on some things that they haven't because they've been holding off, I think the rosters, it's not a talent thing, it's a creative thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Would you do the draft before you go back to the road? Because I always felt like if I'm at a live show and they pause the action in the ring to read off a list of names, that kind of slows the momentum down a little bit. I would want to keep the crowd hot initially.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100%. I would hold off on the draft. I wouldn't do the draft as the first 2 shows because it is a little stilted there. Maybe, but you look what MLW is doing right now. They just did their draft as an example. And I thought it was a really great way for them to announce some new signings, kind of give an idea of what to expect when the product comes back. Maybe if you wanted to do it on one of the last shows in the Thunderdome, so you don't even have to do it in front of live fans, maybe, just as a way to kind of do something different before getting back on the road. But I wouldn't do it as one of the early shows back in front of fans for what you just said.
Agreed 100% with you, man.
So DJ Esquire, New York City, said no one ever draft Lily to SmackDown to feud with Roman. Well, again, we'll see if she becomes sentient. At Yahumps feed, get Ricochet to SmackDown. Give him a top story with someone sexy. All right, come on now. At Ryan, why Randy Orton? He's a good thing right now with Riddle, as Chuck said. At Real Antoine Fair, Drew. So what if Drew loses to Bobby? Can't vie for the WWE title anymore. Do you then start to have him head off to SummerSlam and maybe doing a match with Roman Reigns, which I think over-delivered a lot of people's expectations when they hooked up at Survivor Series last year?
I don't see him and Roman at SummerSlam. There has to be something involving the Usos, or it's already been talked about Roman versus Cena at SummerSlam, right? So I'm just not seeing. I'm not seeing Drew in that picture.
I don't know. Roman's been building up all this heat to pay it off to somebody that they've been building up as a big baby face in front of a big live crowd again.
Yeah, I mean, I got you, but it's SummerSlam and they're trying to fill a football stadium, man. And as much as I love me some Drew McIntyre, he's still not going to draw as much as a John Cena.
Yeah, and lastly here, I'll read one from Deanna, or Dino here. Dino says, have Becky Lynch return to SmackDown to face Belair, Sasha, and Bayley. And yeah, man, you brought up Cena, Edge, Becky Lynch, Brock Lesnar maybe in the wings. I'm really interested to see how loaded that July 16th show is and how loaded in general SummerSlam's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they hold Becky for a return at SummerSlam, I mean, can you imagine the pop that she's going to get? I think actually of all the names that you mentioned there, as far as the fans who have like really hung on this entire time, they would get most excited about the return of Becky Lynch, man. I think that if you hold her off until SummerSlam, you're doing yourself a big favor.
Or, maybe, Money in the Bank, right? Maybe bring her in, have the briefcase there, kind of start off on kind of that, renegade path where anything could happen with Becky Lynch because she's got the briefcase again. Maybe something like that.
Could be.
All right, everybody. Well, we're going to wrap it up here for today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in live or listening to us in audio form. You're all wonderful, however you're taking in the show. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to be joined by Brian Wool on Wednesdays. Tomorrow's show is also going to feature a new wrestling contributor, Drew Rice. Drew, I've told the story a couple times, Chuck, but he just graduated college. His senior project was he wanted to do a project on WWE and their medical issues or something like that, like how WWE treats their wrestlers. And so he just emailed or DM'd 100 different people that have been in wrestling to see who would get back to him. And he had 7 interviews with notable people. And when we interviewed him, he was like, "Do you have any use for this?" And I was like, "Sure, we'll roll about slowly over time." They're all very recent interviews and stuff. We've had his interview with Jackson Riker. We did one with Mark Marrow. So if you come back tomorrow, we're going to dive back into Drew's coffer and we're going to roll out an interview he did with Gerald Briscoe. And I just love the context of these interviews. They're exceptionally candid. They're actually really good. So come on back tomorrow and we'll of course premiere that in video form. Noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel, just like we do all of our interviews and just like we're going to do with my David Pinzer one here in about 13 minutes. So go check that out. Also support Wrestling Inc. and all the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course at nights, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Fridays, weekends after pay-per-views, we go live with the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Chuck, you're one of our late night contributors. When can people usually find you? Late at night.
I believe, late at night, typically sitting right where I am in the studio watching the show. But I will be doing the post-Raw show next Monday night. That's the next big one. And I think keep an eye out in July. So I'm just kind of the filling guy, but maybe I'll be a little bit more ambitious and pop up a little bit more frequently.
Yeah, politic.
I think so.
The reason I'm so successful at Wrestling Inc. is because I have a trail of blood I have left behind me from people I have stomped on and squashed. To get Ruthless aggression, Nick Hausman. That's certainly not P's and Q's. That's not what got me to hear what I'm doing right now. It is. Wink, it is. It is because I try to be nice to everybody. So a lot to do. Check us all out. Tons of great content from Wrestling Inc. And where can people find you and follow you online, Chuck?
At Chuck Carroll WLC is where you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Be forewarned, though, about 5 years ago, Austin Aries convinced me to go vegan. So you're going to see an awful lot of plant-based stuff on there if you go give me a follow. I'm just giving you a heads up about that.
Yeah, man. I'm Nick _Hausman. My thing's mostly dog photos, but I am trying to eat better, Chuck.
Cool.
This is my Greek yogurt that I was having this morning, right?
All right.
Greek with strawberries.
All right. That's protein filled, man. That's protein filled. Hit me up if you ever want some tips, man. I can put you in the right direction.
There we go. All
and you take that 7-day plant-based challenge. I'll change your life.
All right. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I'm at Nick _Hausman over on Twitter. Like I said, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.